They're being surrounded by friggin' UFOs.
And the government not just being honest with us? Why are they overclassifying it? Why aren't they being transparent?
UFOs have been a part of the human experience since before there was even a Pentagon or a Department of Defense.
It was easy, and still is, to discredit a civilian. Much more difficult to discredit a military man, but many of the reports come from highly credible, technically trained people, you see.
Convincing, confirmable evidence.
We're done with the cover-up.
And finally, I'm pleased the NDAA will include my amendment on increasing transparency on UAPs.
And all of a sudden now, Congress and Senate, they realized they've been lied to.
It leads me to believe that they are indeed hiding information.
The biggest Pentagon cover-up to date and of all time. This is what we're talking about today. Also, we're going to expose what is not being reported on the media, which is how the Congress has been denied access to go to a skiff to actually get Dave Grush's testimony that he isn't allowed to declare to the public, but he can tell congressmen in a declassified setting. This is the thing that isn't being reported, that obviously shows that the Pentagon is conducting a cover-up, and we'll dive into it right now.
Only of non-human technology, craft and other technology, you're also in possession of alien bodies. I have spoken to people who have told me that they have seen alien bodies. Incredible as it may seem, Roswell was true.
Now, Ross Coulter is no joke, so if he's making a claim like that, he obviously has intelligence from extremely high people in the military or the government that are telling him that Roswell is true. Isn't that freaking crazy?
Have presidents of the United States, the ultimate executive authority in the United States government, have they been lied to by executive officials in the US government who took it upon themselves to conceal the existence of this most sensitive secret of all? I don't care if people say this is crazy. I don't care if people laugh or ridicule it, because I know from the sources that I've spoken to, this story will eventually come out.
Just a quick shout out to Ross Coulter. You're a fucking beast, mate, and you are my favourite reporter of all time. Kudos to you, and Australia represent.
Been aggressive, been hostile in your reports?
I know of multiple colleagues of mine that got physically injured, and the activity. And I got
by UAPs or by people within the federal government?
Both.
Okay, yeah. So there has been activity by alien or non-human technology and or beings that has caused harm to humans.
I can't get into the specifics in an open environment.
So hear that there. He can't get into the specifics in an open environment. This is his disclosure agreement because he is a person that holds a top scale security clearance. This is what we're talking about that hasn't been reported in the media, obviously, because the media is controlled by the Pentagon.
But at least the activity that I personally witnessed, and I have to be very careful here because they tell you never to acknowledge tradecraft, right? So what I personally witnessed, myself and my wife, was very disturbing.
So this is what we're talking about today. The Congress holding their explosive UFO hearings.
He's a top secret SCI cleared intelligence official, and he still has that security clearance. And he's under an oath to protect things that are national security concerns for the United States. Dave then went to the Defense Office of Pre-Publication Security Review, the DOPSA office inside the Pentagon, and he asked for permission to talk about what he knows, or what he says he knows. And they've given him permission to talk about.
So just to clarify that, Dave Grush is legit, he is the real deal, and all the disinformation coming out about him being a liar, being this, being that, it's all coordinated by the Pentagon to make him sound that way, to hide the truth.
No, working in the program on what they say is recovered non-human technology.
And just to clarify again, the program is an actual program coordinated by the Pentagon for the last 50 years, trying to study and recreate crash non-human craft. And there has been people in the government admitting this program exists, including
Christopher Mellon, the former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defence, no lightweight at all, who's confirmed the veracity of what Dave Grush is saying. They've also got the testimony of a guy called Carl Nell, who's a recently retired American military officer who worked in intelligence. I think his rank was a colonel. And there are other people. I think there's a guy who was working for the National Air and Space Intelligence Centre who is using the pseudonym Jonathan Gray. I'm aware of who these people are. I'm aware of their background, and I can equally vouch for their integrity and their honesty when they say that Dave Grush is a man of high repute, that he served in the positions that he served, and that what he's saying, they say, is true. In fact, to quote Carl Nell, he's asserted, quote, "We are not alone."
And hence, this is why the Pentagon does not like this. They do not want their corruption, their illegal activity to be exposed, and as well a massive disinformation campaign over the span of an 80-year period, which is also illegal.
And look, there is a blowback. There's a pushback happening from the Pentagon and from sections of the establishment media in America who, quite frankly, have been caught napping by the fact that somebody like Grush is prepared to speak out publicly. We've all been taught in the media, we've been socially conditioned to accept that this is something that must be ridiculed. But what I now realise from talking to Mr. Grush is that it really has been the case that there's been a deliberate disinformation operation run by the US intelligence community to try and suppress interest and coverage of this issue.
And it hasn't been hard for them, especially with the last 1,000 or 2,000 years of religion. We've been conditioned to believe what we're told, and our closed mind view of the world has made it easy for the American government to push their disinformation campaign, and we've all just followed along believing it. And the problem is it's been so successful because of how gullible we are.
The media, we in the media have been taught to ridicule and belittle this subject, to stigmatise it with a taboo that means that it's career suicide to go near it. I've had so many journalistic friends say to me in the years that I've been looking at this subject that I should disengage because I'm putting my career in jeopardy by even engaging with it. Every time a national security reporter on a major masthead's even begun to engage with this issue, they get bought off with a tantalising offer of another story on national security issues that it's made clear, if you shut up writing about that issue of UFOs, we'll give you a drop, we'll give you a feed.
And just to give you an example of how the media coordinates their disinformation campaign that they're ordered to do by the Pentagon, watch the attitude of this reporter ridiculing the subject openly.
For you, Sagar, maybe you can just set the context for people is, you know, he's making lots of allegations. He wasn't directly involved in the program. Right. This is based on what he's been told from people that are involved in the program. Well, why weren't any of those people required to testify to be there so that we could have something more direct than secondhand testimony?
Excellent question. Unfortunately, there's a full-blown cover-up going on.
So see how she sticks to the skeptical view of Dave Grush is always going off second-hand knowledge. He's never seen a craft with his own eyes, which is the storyline now from the Pentagon to ridicule David Grush and make him seem discredited. Now watch how this other reporter literally comes in from the left side and exposes the cover-up.
Dave Grush, as I said, he will go to jail if he violates the terms of his disclosure agreements with the Department of Defense, where he is going through the formal whistleblower process. Look, who are these people? And he said, I cannot give you those names in an unclassified setting. And so they said, oh, so you could give this to us in a classified setting. He said, I would be happy to give you the names, the specific names of both hostile and non-hostile direct reports. I can give you the exact locations of crashed UFOs, where these programs are happening, the people involved, the dates, when things were moved, etc. But I can only do that inside of a secure, compartmentalized facility called a SCIF.
But, you know, we were denied access to a SCIF so that we could receive some of that information. Those questions that Grush was being asked, we actually wanted to talk to him prior. And again, we were denied access to that.
Now, you don't see that reported on the news, do you? Now, that to me spells Pentagon cover-up.
Why do we continue to trust the people who have continuously lied to us about this issue since 1947?
Now, again, you don't see this interview on mainstream media. You only see it on News Nation because they're a free-to-air, free media outlet. And when you think about what the congressman's saying, it is crazy. He's admitting that there is a cover-up.
Congress, that they've been lied to, that there's been misappropriation of funds, which is theft.
No sign whatsoever that the Pentagon is indicating any willingness to make any concession.
And just to show you how big the disinformation campaign is through mainstream media, here's a reporter on News Nation having to literally say that they're a free media news site. Like, this is how bad the fake news is. If you're telling the truth and factual information, you have to declare it on live TV.
Always welcome here and have an open platform to discuss the rights and responsibilities that are involved in this in service to the American people.
So the reporter is basically declaring that the news channel isn't under Pentagon control and it's a free-to-air media outlet. So I'm just going to let Ross summarize this episode up because he is now like the best UFO reporter around, basically summing up that we've been lied to for the past 80 years and it's been the biggest, most successful disinformation campaign ever to exist in human history apart from religion, and basically expose the reality that UFOs are here, extraterrestrial beings are real, and there are hidden technologies that exist on our Earth that we cannot even comprehend.
This is a huge, pivotal moment in American history. A massive, long cover-up lasting 80 plus years inside the American government. There has been a concealment of retrieval of non-human spacecraft. There's been a concealment of the existence of multiple species of non-human intelligence to this planet. And frankly, I don't care if people say this is crazy. I don't care if people laugh or ridicule it, because I know from the sources that I've spoken to, this story will eventually come out. And ultimately what Congress needs to decide is whether it wants to be on the right side of history. Is it going to continue to allow sections of the Pentagon and the intelligence community to lie to the American people? I can tell you there are good people, honourable, decent men and women in the Defence Force and in the intelligence community in the United States that want this story told.